We're back, baby. It's a Horns Up Talking Texas podcast. Fisher DeSopoulos, DJ, Nikki Snacks, Kreider. Happy MLK Day. Gents, shout out to the GOAT, Martin Luther King Jr. Big news for our Texas Longhorns this past weekend. Isaiah Bond. He's coming over from Alabama. Welcome to the show, my friend. Steve Sarkisian. Is he leaving for Alabama? No, sir. He's got a 4-year extension. Dwayne Akina, arguably the creator of DBU, the father of DBU, he's back in the mix. Bama's losing their tight end. We're in the mix for him. Bama's losing their linebacker. We're in the mix for him. The boys are buzzing down in Austin, Texas. But let's first start with Isaiah Bond. He joins Matthew Golden as our 2 wide receiver transfer. Matthew Golden, we spoke about him a plethora of times on the show, coming over from Houston. He had his best game against us, ironically, this past season. We have those 2 guys. We have Jonte Cook, who we've spoken about. We have Wingo. We have Niblett coming in. We have both our running backs back and 4 of our 5 offensive linemen, plus obviously Quinn Ewers. Could our offense be better this year, upcoming year, than it was this past season when we won the Big 12 and when we went to the Sugar Bowl?
Yes, undoubtedly, in my opinion. I think the speed that we added is something that you really just – you can't find just, in the middle of nowhere. Like it's Bond is blazing speed. Golden's got blazing speed, and they might not even be the fastest players on the team. Ryan Niblett's in the program, and he's supposed to be the fastest guy in the program right now. So it's going to be pretty insane to see how we utilize everyone. And, what I love the most is like these guys are pumped to get other receivers in the room. Like Jonte Cook has been super vocal and like been super animated about when we sign a guy like Isaiah Bond or Matthew Golden. He's the first one to post on Instagram or Twitter and, sing these guys' praises and welcome them into the room, because like at the end of the day, like you could totally be that type of receiver where you're looking behind your back and you're saying, oh, you're getting more guys out at my position. Like that's going to take my PT away. That's going to take my catches away, my targets away. Or you can be like Jonte and say, look, this is going to make me better, right? This is going to take more eyes off me. This is going to make our offense more dynamic. It's going to bring another player to the fold that, I can learn from as well. I mean, these guys also learn from each other. It's not like they're only learning from their coaches. So, yeah, I mean, I'm loving every little thing about what's going on right now. I mean, Isaiah Bond had that massive catch for Bama in that Auburn game that everyone remembers, where they played a close one, and he had that last second, touchdown to seal the victory for them, and then basically go to the conference championship game. So he's a baller. He's from Alabama. He's the number 2 overall transfer prospect, transfer recruit in 247 composite. This is a guy that has huge playmaking ability.
Yeah, absolutely. Toss.
Yeah, he's actually from Buford, Georgia. That's just the one thing I wanted to mention there. So potential nice pipeline for Sark and the rest of the staff to continue to tap into. Maybe snag.
It's a tricky one.
Right underneath Kirby Smart's nose. We didn't even mention, like in the speed conversation, Aaron Butler, who's also an incoming freshman, he ran like I think a sub 22 200 meter dash in high school, which is also really, really fast. I don't know if he's going to be playing wide receiver or corner. I think that's, according to some people, still up in the air because he was, he's labeled as a quote unquote athlete, presumably coming in as a wide receiver, but maybe he gets involved in special teams. Like there's so much speed out there. Bond, between he and Jermaine, important wide receivers on the Crimson Tide this past year. So he immediately, I think, steps in for us alongside Matthew Golden and then Jonte Cook. Maybe he plays on the outside, but I think all these guys are going to play all over the field. There's going to be a lot of pre-snap motion. Our signal caller gets one more off season and preseason under his belt. So I expect that he will go into next year very, very confident. We have full belief that Quinn can be a Heisman candidate and be the best quarterback in next year's draft class, be the first selected by an NFL team. So yeah, I mean, the retooling, like it's more than that, right, Josh? That's what you're saying. Like, are we better than we were last year? We won't know until we see it, but It certainly feels like we have enough quality players in the locker room to even outperform that production that the guys who are now going to the league this year were able to accomplish this season.
Which is crazy because we have 2 pro wide receivers going to the league this year and a pro tight end.
And
but
a
you
pro
bring up
running
the
back.
pro
and a
running
pro
back.
running back, but you bring up Quinn Ewers' development. And I'd say, we shouted out Dwayne Aquina at the beginning of the show, and he's brought in to help the development of our defensive backfield, who again gets a year older. And I don't think our defensive backfield stunk last year. I think they were just young. And I think Quinn Ewers, look, Michael Penix Jr. dominated college football this year. How many years has he been playing college football? Bo Nix in the same boat. So a lot of these guys have a lot of seasoning under their belt, and it's only going to help Quinn Ewers to mature. Same with the offensive line. As good as Banks is, another year under his belt, another year under CJ Baxter's belt. And I think with Jonte Cook, it's, I guess for some people, it could be a bit of a head scratcher. Why do you want so many guys in your wide receiver room? Look, if he thinks he's great and he knows he's one of the best, he's going to play. Sark ran the best 3 wide receivers last year, but he could change it up. And he could have Jonte Cook obviously in that mix, and he could have Jonte Cook leading the pack. I'm wearing a Detroit Lions hat, and we spoke about it yesterday when we were all watching the game. The beauty of the Lions is in their running back room, they could run Jahmyr Gibbs, they could run David Montgomery, they could run whoever the hot hand is, depending on where they are in the field. You could have Jonte Cook, Golden out there. You could have now Isaiah Bond out there, and speed's going to kill, and you're going to open up the field, and that's going to make it easy for Blue and Baxter to get cooking.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And I think that since we have so much youth on the offense and we have so many new guys coming in, this might be a different situation where there's no undoubtedly one number one guy like Xavier or AD, right? Those are our guys that are staying on the field no matter what. It might be a situation now where we have so many guys in the building that our rotation just is always fresh guys, rotating them in and out. And look, I'm sure someone will prevail at some point where they'll be the number one guy or our solid, outside guys, inside guys. But I like the idea of just, getting a solid rotation in there, right? And if Niblett needs to come in or if Moore needs to come in, Jonte needs to come in, you just rotate these guys in and out. I mean, even Ryan Wingo might get some snaps here. And so I want to keep these guys happy, get them their snaps and their targets, but at the same time, best man plays. But if they're all the best man, if they're all playing at a high level, why not just play with the freshest legs? Just get a solid rotation in and out and get all these guys to a point where they, can be successful next year and bring it on to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not to mention potential guys that can be used more so in the style of Keelan Robinson and gadget type of plays, right? Savion Red, and I would even say Wisner, right, has the opportunity. He's really he's slight, but he's got some speed and he's got some quickness and elusiveness.
The Hebrew Hammer.
Yeah, I don't know if the hammer part is necessarily there for his nickname yet, but I think the Akita, I just wanted to mention some of the guys that he coached during his tenure between 01 and 13. 3 Jim Thorpe winners, and then amongst the massive list, Michael Huff, Aaron Ross, Earl Thomas, Quentin Jammer, Michael Griffin, Ced Griffin, Nathan Vasher, Rod Babers, Terrell Brown, Aaron Williams, Kenny Vaccaro, Quandre Diggs, standout college players, but also standout professional players as well. And in the portal talk, the guy that you didn't mention, Josh, is also Jamar Muhammad, who is a corner for Washington. Of course, cousins with our Malik Muhammad. And, it's going to be interesting. I think he's going to take a visit later this week to Texas to have both of those cousins on the outside. Muhammad Islands, I guess, would be an archipelago at that point. Would be pretty fun.
We have a lot of good stuff. We can do GoldenEye with GoldenEye 007 with Matt Golden and Isaiah Bond. And
Muhammad is the most common name in the world according to Superbad.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's not just, it wouldn't just be those 2 guys, right? Our DB room is not only present with a lot of talent, young talent, but also depth where guys could come in, be interchangeable, rotate in and out. And Akina is going to be able to get the best out of these guys. There's just no question about that.
Yeah. And one guy I didn't shout out at the beginning when we did the intro was Jahdae Barron coming back. That's such a massive return for us. I think I texted you guys and we'll get work back to Texas, but on the Ohio State front, no one really is. Everyone's like Georgia, can Michigan repeat? Texas is back. No one's really discussed Ohio State here. And say what you will about Ryan Day, but look what Ryan Day returned. He returned both his edge guys, his defensive tackle, his cornerback, his running back.
Even though besides Marvin Harrison Jr.
everyone but Marvin Harrison Jr. exactly, and he upgraded at quarterback. I think a lot of people would think.
And they
So
lost Fleming, but he's really the only guy that's
but
out
he
of
wasn't
that
really
receiver room.
seeing, yeah, but he wasn't really, and they brought in the literal number one recruit at receiver.
Right.
So it's so important to, yes, kill it in the transfer portal, and yes, send guys to the league, but also returning guys and keeping them on that mission is so valid. And I think having Barron comes back, I know we were a little like, oh, I wish we returned some guys, but having Barron, Majors back, Ewers back, Alfred Collins back, it's like, all right, guys are still sticking around to get more out of this program, squeezing Gabenda, squeezing more of the juice. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to Akina coming in. Quandre Diggs, you mentioned him as one of the guys, unless he went to Twitter and shouted out the fact that Akina's coming back. So that goes to show you how important he was to him and his development.
Like, we know how beloved he was by these players, and Quan would be the first one to tell you that this guy needed to be in the building earlier. And I think that it's finally happening, and that might be a credit to why Jahdae Barron's deciding to stay. But also I think it kind of brings home the point that I made last week about these guys that are seniors that kind of want to be that veteran presence, that want to be the ones that are the leaders of the locker room. You saw like in the video that he posted about his return, where Michael Huff is giving him the number 7 jersey, right, passing the torch a little bit. And that's an honor. It's a new brotherhood that he's joining. Quan always says that the players, keep in touch with the guys who rock the same numbers as them. Quan's got a fraternity with the 6s and the 7s, and so it's the same thing, and I think that, bringing that presence, rocking number 7, being that guy that takes after Huff and being the senior leader there, and anchoring that defense that really needs some senior leadership, losing Ford, and the guys on the D line as well. It's something that is really important, minus the field play, just the locker room. So yeah, I'm excited. And at the end of the day, Akina's a guy that was getting his name thrown around to be a defensive coordinator for Arizona, and he decided to leave that to become an analyst at Texas.
Yeah.
That just tells you like what we're building here is like, it's much bigger than just football. Like these guys are trying to like really change the culture and really trying to put this school back on the map. And if you do that, you can take whatever job you want.
Yeah, I think he's also up there in age and look. Like the thing with Arizona, they lost Jed Fish, and I think maybe he saw the writing on the wall once Washington's job opened up with Kalen DeBoer going to Alabama and Jed Fish now going to Washington. I think he's like, do I want to be a part of another rebuilding staff like this program? Okay, if Jed Fish was staying and he was going to be the DC at Arizona and they were going to the Big 12 where they could actually do some damage, I felt next year, that's one thing.
They were returning a ton of guys, like 19 out of 23 of their guys that had started last year were coming back. And I know a lot of those guys are disappointed and probably will end up in the portal. But
sure.
even more so to your point about like what that roster was going to look like there, it's a completely different ballgame now.
Yeah, if you would have asked me who my favorite was for the Big 12 next year, I would have said ahead of Colorado, ahead of Oklahoma State and the Baylors and the teams that we know and the TCUs. I would have said Arizona with Jed Fish and that team. I would have said Utah, right? But now I don't know. And for him, like this is more of a certainty. Like you could be a part of something great. You could be one of the guys that helps these young guys develop in the defensive backfield. You can make Derek Williams like from a really good, player, really good safety to a guy that's a second-round pick, first-round pick for the Texas Longhorns. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but like you could be a part of that. You could be a part of Muhammad's development, right? Like we love Malik Muhammad. You could be a part of making Terrence Brooks, okay, a really good college player to a professional player. Like you've done that a multitude of times and the talent is there. And these guys all of a sudden, like, yeah, we got torched a little bit, but you know what? We've been there now. Like this whole defensive backfield, pretty much, they've gotten experience. They have now been there. There's no question of like, ooh, Texas hasn't been there before. They don't have the veteran presence. Nope, we all got it. Like that's like, that's the glass half full of like, okay, we lose the Sugar Bowl, but we still get that experience. We still get that prowess, to play in a major game and play in a playoff game. And these guys will come back stronger and better as we hope and presume. Elsewhere, let's count our chickens before they hatch a little bit, just to, list some guys. Blackshire, linebacker from Alabama. He's in the portal. We're looking at him a bit stronger than Nyblack, their tight end, who had 4 touchdowns for Alabama last year. I think Blackshire would be fantastic to replace Jalen Ford or come in and split some time with Gabenda. But I really think we can go and get Nyblack, the tight end from Alabama. That's going to change our team dramatically. Replacing Tavion Sanders is something that we've it's almost the biggest elephant in the room right now. And if we can do that with our Money Niblack, I think that'd be massive.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, like he's a big athletic tight end that, is pretty similar to Javen Sanders. And it's not like a guy that like didn't get a lot of playing time last year. Like he was a pretty big piece of Bama's offense. He was the number one tight end. I think he had over 40 receptions, maybe. At the end of the day, like this is a guy that would immediately be an impact player for us. And as you see, like Quinn really, loves to have a safety blanket in the tight end position, and Sark likes to utilize that. And yeah, I think it's something that's super important for this offense. I mean, I think we want to give Gunnar Helm some praise too. I mean, Toss, you were talking to me yesterday about it. And you talked me into it that, he's a tremendous run blocker, big body guy. He was really reliable for us last year. So let's not write him off completely yet. But
I think we've given him praise though on the show. I'm glad you're doing it now. But I think before we've always been like,
sure.
Oh, Gunnar Helm was fine.
Yeah. I'm not sold that he's like Jatavian Sanders worthy,
No.
where he's just going to be like the guy that we need to just pepper with targets. But, he's a guy that we can rely on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he was really productive for us. I mean, anytime a guy kind of pops off when you're not expecting it to, like, I think that's a clear indicator that the player, one, has the trust of the coaches, and two, has the talent to translate to production on the field. Right. And he did that in big games already this season. Mm-hmm. So I have the utmost faith if we don't end up with Niblack that like we're in great hands with Gunnar. And obviously, like anyone who's listened to us in the last 3 weeks knows how we feel about Ogbo slotting in there as the second tight end. And we did get
no baby.
I'm forgetting his name now, but a true freshman coming into the building who's a 4-star whose name is escaping me right now at the tight end position as well, who, we wouldn't expect to play, but I love that talent behind Gunnar and anyone else who's in that room. Yeah, I mean, I just adding into it, like on the Akina side with Jade, like Jade was going to be he was going to get drafted. I think if he had declared, it would have been like a 5th round pick, but now he's getting 7, right? He's taking up that mantle. He's pointing to the Thorpe Award in his video of him staying, which I love. I love that aspiration, because if he is to be a Jim Thorpe winner or even a finalist, like that completely changes his stock. So it makes sense for him to stay as well. We said multiple times that he was our best tackling DB on this team. Like he proved time and time again that he is stalwart out there, that he is reliable, and that I think he's really going to be a leader. And obviously Makuba hasn't been on the 40 acres yet, but he's played a lot of college football. So I like, and you mentioned already those young guys getting the experience in the semifinal game. And of course, in the Big 12 championship game. Like this is a defensive backfield that we haven't seen, since Akina was with our university. And it's going to be really, really exciting. I mean, you look all across the board at all of our different position groups, like there are a lot less question marks and few question marks, if any, than we considered there would be after that semifinal loss to Washington. And it's been quickly replaced. Like things have, the dam has not only been shored up by Sark, but, we built it, 10 feet higher too. And I think that's part of the reason why, the Board of Regents, the University of Texas, was willing to extend Sark through 2030. And he gets that extension. I think he's going into year 4 of his 6-year initial contract, and then he'll get an additional 4 years. Well deserved by him. He's doing everything he needs to. We're heading in the right direction. Each year we've progressively gotten better. The hype around the team has gotten realer. And I couldn't be more excited about us going to the SEC and feeling like we're really at the top of the SEC alongside Georgia. And I mean, LSU, I think, will be really good too next year. They have a good backup quarterback that's slotting in for Jaden Daniels.
That's Brian Kelly.
Alabama question marks. I mean, Brian Kelly's a guy that's been in the playoff, though. We got to respect that, right?
Sure, but he's the Dallas Cowboys of college football. He ain't doing nothing.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe you could be right. You could be right. Dallas Cowboys put up a pitiful performance. And so anyone that's a Dallas person, a Texas person who is rooting for the Cowboys can just hop on the Horns bandwagon. And
the Zans, baby, the Texans.
and D'Amico Ryans and the Texans.
But
yeah, I mean, we have to feel really, really good about where we are in the SEC in that standing. We did
100%. We returned like our look. We could look at where we could be. Nick has said it so many times. Like we don't have to go to the portal to get a quarterback. We don't have to go to the coaching, carousel to get a coach. We're like the best standing. We have the two most important things in college in football. In the game of football, you have a great head coach, you have a great quarterback. You're ready to rock at that point. And then, you know, we go
coordinators too.
And yeah, like Toss is saying, we retain.
guys.
Not only do we the dam not break, we built on the dam. Like which is pretty crazy considering we're losing guys to the draft. No coordinators left really. We lost Bo Davis, but we bring in Aquino, who I think is honestly maybe more exciting. And we bring in, you know, Nansen from Arizona, who's got experience with Sark, another guy from Arizona. Like, which I mean, I'm wondering if that helped bring Aquino back.
Sure.
Maybe that's something we could ask Quan. And then once we get that DL spot filled, which we're hearing a lot of great names, I think we're going to be in pretty strong shape which is an understatement from a staff standpoint. And then we'll see how everything breaks. If we get one of these guys in the transfer portal, all of a sudden we have a top tier transfer recruiting class. We have a top tier regular recruiting class for freshmen. We haven't really lost anybody on our own right to the portal. So you got to be happy. Closing thoughts, gents?
Hook 'em.
Toss. Aloha.
Yeah,
aloha for Aquino, baby.
apparently Jaron Thompson, who's transferring away from Texas, is going to Auburn. So we don't see them next year, so we won't see him. But best of luck to him, and I hope he's going to impress. He's a good player.
Yeah.
And then Bet Online, shout out to them. Promo code BELIEVE, BLAAV, to get your 50% off welcome bonus.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you guys.
Thanks, Bet Online.
Yeah, aloha for our new coach, Mr. Aquino from Hawaii. We'll see you guys next time. We have a special one this week that we're cooking up, so get excited. Fisher DeSopoulos, DJ, Nikki, Snacks Critter. It's something that we've never done on Horns Up Talking Texas. See you next time.
That can mean a lot of things.